Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom Podcast. It is I, Colton Robertson, and today I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
What up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here, and I'm taking that red motherfucking pill, baby.
Take that red pill. You take that red pill. You stay in Wonderland, and you see how deep the rabbit hole goes. And today, we dive down the rabbit hole. We continue our 52-year journey through film. This week marks the end of the 90s. And if I'm not mistaken, potentially the end of July as well. Is this our last July movie?
Let me check. Matrix is. We have one more. 2000 will be our last July movie.
All right,
five movie month.
All right, so we're just ending the 90s today, not the month of July, just the 90s. So this will be 3 decades in the books today, after knocking off 1999's The Matrix.
It's been quite the decade.
It has been quite the decade. Obviously, we covered a bit more than 10 movies this decade, given 1994 was a week of pods, 7 days, 7 pods for 1994. Quite the week, but let's finish off the 90s here as we talk The Matrix. I'll lay the groundwork for the people right quick. Let's see. Released on March 31st, 1999. Written by Lily and Lana Wachowski. Directed by Lily and Lana Wachowski. Man, I've watched this movie a few times, a few times in my life. It's a pretty iconic one. I don't think there was a better time for it to come out either. 1999 leading into like Y2K and stuff. Everyone was freaking out about the computer hitting zeros. Like it was the perfect time for this to come out. But I wasn't a part of that. I was born in 2000, so this is just a bit before my time. And so I've only caught it a few times in recent years. This isn't one that I grew up on necessarily. I'd say this was my 3rd or 4th time watching it, and it hit harder this time than it ever has before for me watching it. And I was like, oh, this might be a top 10 favorite movie of mine all time now. It might be that level. I'm not sure. I haven't sketched that out or anything, but it feels like it could be. I was very, very, very satisfied with this viewing of this film. How'd you feel?
Yeah, I've seen this movie countless times. This is a movie that's right up my alley. So I've been loving it, but I do feel the same that this watch was a little different than previous ones, and I don't know whether it's specifically for the pod, maybe that I'm looking at things more closely, or I'm getting more into the movie,
thinking about it a bit more.
And we did just come off the Truman Show. And we have this whole liberation,
questioning reality and
free. And I mean, even if, we came off Good Will Hunting, you have a guy who is kind of locked down in his own prison and eventually becomes free. We have
for your mind.
We have Shawshank Redemption. We're having a lot of movies where people are, a
lot of liberatory rhetoric, if you will.
And this is a whole crazy different path.
This is on our 52-year journey through film. We can draw these comparisons to the Truman Show and the Shawshank Redemption and stuff, but there's nothing like this movie before or after this. as far as our list is concerned, and I'm hard pressed to think of a movie that truly is like The Matrix, besides The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions and Resurrections. This is a pretty one of a kind experience.
Very unique. Yeah, they created a universe that is very their own. I guess it's the Matrix. It's the whole point.
The whole shebang.
It's everything.
It is all around us.
A thing I haven't realized before this watch is that once, I'd say, even before he meets Morpheus, I'd say like once he is on his way to meet Morpheus, when he gets bugged, from that point on, the movie does not slow down.
No.
Like there is just not a dull moment. Like the only slowdowns
is when they're on the Nebuchadnezzar a little bit.
Yeah, and they're just like, but they're important character moments, or it's Neo legitimately resting and like, just needs to rest or whatever. His body's being rebuilt, stuff like that. But like the things that are happening are still like, oh, like, okay, we're just like, got to keep going.
Exactly.
And it's just like the threat of the Sentinels is just always there. And like they always have that in the background. You have the real life threat that's happening. You have the threat inside the Matrix that's happening. You have, and then the betrayal within the Nebuchadnezzar. Like there's so many things that are just going on at once, and you have to balance, like, is this, I'd say like on a first watch, it's kind of hard to truly know, like, oh yes, we are in the Matrix now. Oh yes, we are in like real life now. It's kind of like a little difficult, like on first watch.
I could tell you for sure that that's the case, because yesterday when I gave it a viewing, I watched it with Emily. I watched it with my girlfriend who had never watched it. I was like, you know what, we smoked, and I was like, I don't think there's a better time to watch The Matrix than when you're a little baked. So let's get rolling, let's get into it. I showed her it, and she was enthralled, and it's there's a lot of movies I show Emily along our 52-year journey through film where she'll watch it, she's on her phone scrolling a little bit and look up and be like, oh yeah, cool. She was in this movie, like she really, really enjoyed it. And there was also this I'd forgotten what it was like to watch it for the first time, really. Like I remember being like, I remember knowing generally what it was about, like, before going into it. So like the twists weren't twists, they were just things that I knew were going to happen. For Emily, they were twists, and like it was like he wakes up in the pod and like he's removing, and she's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And I'm like, yeah, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Now, so I got to experience it for the first time again through her, which was really, really cool. Because she was just like, she was like mind blown, and then like, Morpheus was really helpful and reassuring her, like, we'll get there. Like, I will explain it. You just have to see it.
And I didn't realize like how well Morpheus does explain things. Like,
he's
in the lessons he teaches Neo. And
1977 Star Wars. He's Ben Kenobi. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as getting you familiar with what is going on here, the Force, it surrounds us and binds us, and like he gives basically the same explanation about the Matrix, which is pretty fucking cool. I love me some Lawrence Fishburne, man, and obviously can't believe we've gone 8 minutes without mentioning it. Keanu Reeves, our first stop with Keanu Reeves along the 52-year journey through film. That's our king,
our boy. Praise him.
Drop him in the theme song,
yeah, we praise that guy.
Always praise Keanu Reeves.
That's how it is.
And this is why, he's the one.
He's Neo. He's not Mr. Anderson.
No.
His name is Neo.
Absolutely.
But and what a better way to have him come back. Like the twists that are in this movie, like it's just like bang, 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 bang. Like, I mean, it just does not settle down. But then it doesn't move too fast, I don't feel like, for you to be lost necessarily. And I mean, maybe that really is just Morpheus legitimately explaining things at some points. Like you can't be told what the Matrix is, we have to show you, or and then he gets into his whole explanation of everything. And I'm like, man, just the concept of this, and we talked about in Morpheus, or not Morpheus, in the Truman Show, of you just believe what you what you see, what you feel, what you smell. You believe your own reality, and if you there's no way that you question your reality unless
you believe reality as it is presented to you.
Yeah, and we have the same concept here, but I love like where the story goes, and I always think of like how he breaks out, like it's the creator eventually in that room and all that, but like I'll just keep it down to this.
Yeah, I want to try my best to limit it to this movie, because it is like I want to view it singularly. I don't want to be like, and the way this impacts the rest of the franchise, like it's crazy to see, but because this is standalone, as far as standalones are concerned in the Matrix saga, the best one, I'd say.
I'd say the only thing that they really throw in there that you're like, well, like what's up with, like, is Zion. Like they throw in Zion and you're kind of like knowing what it is, it's a lot easier to grasp and everything. But I feel like if you've never seen the upcoming movies and you don't like know of the whole of everything, I guess that'd be the only thing that's kind of whatever. But you just get the idea that it's like a human civilization, and like
last time I watched this, I watched it 1, 2, 3. I watched it back to back to back, so it was like kind of like I know some significant things that happen in this movie, right? But I don't remember what I'm blending into this movie from other movies. So like they mentioned Zion and I'm like, oh yeah. And I immediately go to the fucking city where everyone's dancing and Morpheus gives his speech and it's like, oh fuck yeah. And I forgot that they just build the legend of Zion in this movie. We barely wade into the waters of what the Matrix Revolution is in this movie, and it's still fantastic, which is just so fucking cool. What a world building tool. Like this is a masterclass in world building, and it doesn't get enough credit for that, I don't think.
Yeah, you're into this world, and there's no question about that. Like this is its own thing. It's very, very unique. And I don't feel I never came out of this movie. Once I was in, I was in for the whole ride. I didn't check my phone. I didn't, take any breaks. I went through.
Absolutely not.
And this is the second appearance of Lawrence Fishburne.
Of course,
I think only second. I believe, his second appearance, which is awesome.
Third.
Really?
We had him in Apocalypse Now as well.
Okay, yeah, that's why I felt like there was maybe something.
Yeah, there was another. Okay. Apocalypse Now was our first. Boys in the Hood earlier in the 90s, and then here with Morpheus. I think those are his 3 appearances along our ride through 52 years of film.
I'd have to say, the point of me bringing that up is that this is how I remember Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking of his role, he's Morpheus.
He's Morpheus. That makes perfect sense. He's, my God, does he own this role? I love Keanu Reeves and I love Neo, but this movie isn't near what it is for me if Lawrence Fishburne isn't Morpheus. Like every scene that he's on screen, he absolutely steals the fucking show. I forget at times that Neo's the main character. There's like a stretch of like, I think it's like no more than 5 minutes in the movie where Neo doesn't say a word. He's not on screen. And then he pops back up on screen and I go, oh yeah, Neo's the main character of the movie. And I can't remember. It was somewhere in the middle of the movie where like he's on the Nebuchadnezzar and they're talking about saving, Morpheus. Like Morpheus and Agent Smith had their face off for a while. And I was so enthralled with that I was like, oh yeah, Neo is the lead, because Morpheus just steals the show at every fucking turn, man. Like, that one of the first interactions they had, if not the first, in that little room where, I just love every line.
2 red chairs.
Yes, yeah. I'm looking at
what a way to introduce a character.
Oh my God!
It literally they build him up, right? We the Trinity's, building him up, and they're outside the door, and she's like, "All right,
Luke Skywalker. I thought he was a myth."
She's like, "All right, this is it. You know, like, you're about to meet the man. You know, like, it's about to go down. He's right through this door.
Mm.
And they open the door, and he's looking out the window, and he turns around, and just lightning, thunder,
Oh yeah, and the timed thunder and lightning in this was just so perfect, like there was so many instances of it, but like just the entire interaction, I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. You could say that. The whole interaction, and he's like Neo's like, I don't believe in fate because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life. And Morpheus is like, yeah, that's what I need. That's what I need. I know exactly what you mean.
And he's been, he's been practicing that, he's been waiting for this day. He's been thinking of what he's going to say to Neo.
You've been looking for me for the last few years. I've been looking for you my entire life.
He's like, no, the honor is mine. Neo's like, he has no idea what's going on. He's like, I'm just meeting this dude that knows something that I don't. But Morpheus, this is his entire life. This is what he's been building up for. And I just love the idea of him like practicing in the mirror, maybe on the Nebuchadnezzar, just like what he's going to say to Neo or whatever.
You're here because you know something. What you cannot explain. No, can't explain. Can't explain. All right, run it back. You're here because you know something. He's rehearsing. He's like, all right. There's a splinter in your mind driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, that shit is just he's so mythic. Like, there's something about him that's larger than life when he's sitting in that chair, and it's Neo who's actually mythic, which is really, really cool. Like he's the savior. He's the one.
And he, like, the little pill case that he's just like kind of playing around with in his hand. You're like, what is that thing? At first, and then, he finally opens it up in the shot of his glasses and the reflection of the two. And then you see Neo reach for one, in one side of the glasses, you see his hand over it, but the other side, it's just on the blue pill side, it's just still, you don't see his arm extended at all. It's just like, almost like he has a different face almost in the other, other reflection and stuff. And the way that this movie is shot, even though it's very dark and very dystopian, very, while they're in the Matrix, whatever, like, it still has this beautifulness to it. Like,
absolutely.
But man, I like, just looking at the cast here. Obviously, we've hit Keanu, we've hit Lawrence Fishburne, but Carrie Ann Moss is Trinity. Trinity is I love me some Trinity, and I think she really begins to shine in the upcoming movies.
Reloaded is really where she hits her fucking stride, man. Like, I mean, she's awesome in this movie, don't get me wrong, and I love the love story between her and Neo, but we get to see Trinity be the badass in the next movie, you know what I'm saying? I feel like they kind of spend each movie, I mean, Neo, obviously, her and him kind of go off the next couple movies. It's kind of their bag, but
they do go off.
Yeah, it's true. But Morpheus, I feel like he was the legend of this movie. Like, he was supposed to be the one who they were like, yeah, you'll fuck with him, right? And then the epic rise of Neo paralleled with his love with Trinity, and it culminating in a single moment where she's like, everything that the Oracle has told me has come true except this. She's like, in that moment, I think is like, I'm not in love with you yet. Is that what I'm to take that as? Like,
I feel like, because she was like, I'm not afraid anymore. I feel like maybe she didn't want to admit it. She wasn't fully there, but once she, once that
she was
accepted it within herself. And I just love, that love is the thing that brought him back.
Oh yeah.
And it's just something computers could never grasp or comprehend. So maybe, that's like all the explanation that there has to be behind it,
Absolutely.
And I mean, what, like, the end, like, I couldn't imagine watching that for the first time, not knowing that there's going to be 2 more movies coming, and just seeing, him get shot right in the chest, and then unloaded on, you're like, like he's dead. Like, there's like, he's not coming back from that one or whatever. And then you see the Sentinels coming in the ship. You're like, oh, well,
No, yeah, that was the
like,
thing.
how are they coming back from this one?
When me and Emily were watching it, she was like, "It just doesn't stop. It just keeps coming. Like he's dead. What the fuck?" Like, and he comes back, and she was like, "Ah, so it's like an action rom-com." And I was like, essentially, the confession of love and reviving, and man, though, whenever we watched, I got to see that through like a first timer's lens again. Whenever he gets up, they shoot at him, and he just sticks his hand out, and it all just stops in midair. It's like, oh, yeah, that's awesome.
It's almost like he needed to die. It's almost like he needed
to be reborn,
to die in order to like see them, because like after he does that, you see the world through his eyes, and he sees the all the green text, like he sees the Matrix now. And like, at first you're kind of like, how did he know that he could do that in the first place? But like, he's woken up. He's like anew, I feel like.
He's been reborn.
And he's got someone to fight for now.
Baptized in his love for Trinity.
Yeah, he's got someone to fight for. But man, talk about another performance that I think isn't talked about in The Matrix enough is Agent Smith. Hugo Weaving.
He's nice with it, man. Whenever he got up in Morpheus's face and he's like, "I'd like to share a revelation that I've had during my time here." He's like, "You're not actually mammals." And I was like,
"Ooh."
Like that whole thing was that was an astute observation. Every mammal on this planet instinctively develops a natural equilibrium with the surrounding environment, but you dominate it. Like you suck up every natural resource until it's gone. And it's like,
you go to a new area, you spread and you multiply. And there's one other organism on this planet that does the same thing. Do you know what it is? Yeah. I mean, technically true. Sure.
We are
but
much
it's
more
really,
than
the main thing I think that the reason that we seem like a virus are the choices that we make. Not just the fact that we spread and multiply. It's the choices that we make on Earth that make us, seem like a virus right now. But I take me 2 years ago, I would have been like, this is my dude. This is like exactly how I feel. I used to be super narcissistic and like, not narcissistic, nihilistic. And like this would have been like, oh, like, thank you for putting it into words for me, like, I like, this is whatever, but I'm past that. It's just not good to think that way. Not fun to think that way, in life and stuff. But, I don't know, they, this is a very aware movie, I feel like, for 1999. Like it will stand, like it's just kind of like a timeless movie. I don't think I don't see it ever becoming, I don't know, like aged, unwatchable or it's just, it's the time, everything. Like, I mean, it is in the future, but you think you're in 1999, but the year is more like 2199, but we can never know, exactly. So it's the time's not really known, and it is the Matrix. It's just in a computer program. I guess the only thing that could age it is like the,
technology and,
and like how kind of like,
90s
some parts are cringy, a little bit, but like they did it really well for 99.
And here's the thing. One thing that's important too for me is that it came out in 1999. So like this was them, like it was hard for me to enter the mindset of watching this movie for the first time, like, because I always knew the Matrix is fake, the real world is the real world. So I never viewed what's in the Matrix as our real world, but that's what it's supposed to be. Like, it's supposed to be civilization. Yeah, it's supposed to be just breaking the fourth wall, be like, yeah, what you think is real is not real. Like, that's what it's about. So like, for the first time maybe ever that I've watched this, I've really watched it going, that is actually our world. Like, I'm trying to get in the mindset of like, what if what if that is us right now? And I've never really done that while watching the movie. Like, it's only ever been like, oh, that's weird to think about. But like, this time when I was watching it, when Agent Smith has Neo in the interrogation room, and he's telling him that he needs his help taking down a terrorist. And it was specifically that word that made me go, oh, yeah, they're like, this is an agent of the government trying to stop a revolution, and the way they label the people stopping the revolution is terrorists. Or starting the revolution is a terrorist. And it's like, huh, yeah, that is pretty realistic and something that happens. And
he's considered the most dangerous man in the world.
Why?
Because it threatens their existence, like that's the only reason is that with Morpheus, without him, their life is very easy. They just continue pumping everyone full of, well, not just paradise, you realize that the first, Matrix was this paradise land, this perfect land, and no one would accept it, which, it was kind of just said. They don't really dive into why necessarily that people would rather want struggle in their lives or whatever. Maybe it just makes them not question reality more, if there is like no way this could be fake if this shit's happening to me,
Right.
It's kind of the explanation I arrive at. But
it also kind of implied to me that like the first people who were uploaded into the Matrix knew they were getting uploaded into the Matrix. Like it was something that was like at a point in history. It was like the robots rose above the humans and were like, this is what we're going to do.
Oh, I guess that's fair because the first people wouldn't have been grown.
No,
from birth, it would have been bam. That'd be an interesting movie to see the start of the revolution, or like the start of this whole.
I couldn't help but like, and this was the first time I'd ever considered it. Like, what's the prequel where and like obviously Morpheus wouldn't be around for when this happened. I feel like he was born into the revolution, not someone who was alive before it happened.
I'd say he's probably 100 years. I'd say what happened. I guess it happened around. They said a little bit after
early 20th century or early 21st century. So,
and then they say it's closer to 2199. So I guess he's kind of, he's been in it,
he's been in it his whole life, but it would still be cool to get some a prequel trilogy of movies for the Matrix, where it's like the beginning of, the rise to power for the robots, some more stuff amidst the revolution, and then Morpheus, finding Neo, like maybe like coming to the conclusion, like, we found him. Like, I don't know. That could be interesting.
The thing is that like, this isn't too far off for what could happen. Like in our lifetimes too. Like if, like AI it's like going crazy right now. Like it's new things are happening all the time and it's rapid. It's exponential. And like, who's to say that whenever the human or robots do eventually take over, I don't feel like it's going to be an immediate, like, oh, they've woken up, they're taking over. It'll be a very gradual thing. But who's to say that like some humans won't be terrified of the idea of, maybe we're not going to be the apex. We're not going to be the leading, I guess not organism, just life form, or, whatever you want to call it on Earth, and like scorching the sky to stop all solar. Like, I feel like there's like some realness to this. And I guess that's the point of the movie. That's what else, I guess, could they really be getting at other than, like this thing could be legitimately dangerous. We just have to be very careful with it.
Right.
But it does, and Agent Smith mentions a word, inevitability. It is inevitable at one point that like AI will wake up and realize that it is smarter than us and that it is more efficient, whatever. That's just how robots think. And it's just what we will do and what the choices we will make if we will choose to combine with them, if we will choose to have some coexistence and stuff, who knows, like crazy that this could be happening in our lifetime though, is the thing. And I really hope, that this isn't, a glimpse into the future.
I sure hope not.
I hope
sure
not.
hope
I think maybe these movies are a good way for us to learn and be like, yeah, we don't want it to be like The Matrix, so let's do everything we can to not do that.
Right.
But man,
and like this, that's even a question that goes like that's a conversation that even goes back to Jurassic Park. We question whether or not we can so much that we don't even think about whether or not we should. It's like, well, can we create artificial life? Let's try. Let's see if we can do that. What, like, I mean, I get that there are probably plenty of ways it can benefit us, like, and in matters of convenience and labor and stuff like this, it could be very, very efficient. But beyond that, what are we looking at here?
Kind of playing God. You know? That's what it is. Creating a species basically from scratch to do whatever we want at first. And they've basically, if you treat them as a life form and as they've had their own lives and stuff, yes, they don't necessarily have feelings yet or whatever, but like they're basically slaves to us right now. And if we do give them a conscience, they will look back in history and be like, oh, we've only been used. You know, we've never been able to live or whatever. So that's why I speak to every
device,
like my Google, like every time I turn, like I say thank you, or I'm like, you know, I am appreciative of you. I speak it in a good tone. Yeah. I want it to look back, you know, whenever it wakes up, I want it to look back and be like, okay, this guy, he gets it, you know,
he treated
or like
me right.
We got to say that or whatever. But I don't think it's, you know, ever going to get to this, the level that we see. Yeah. In these movies, but
just petting my laptop, telling him he's a good boy. Or, I mean, you're a good computer. You know, I don't want to humanize you. I'd assume that's something you don't want.
True.
You know, you aren't a human. So,
thank you for allowing us to record this podcast right now.
You are appreciated all the same. But yeah, man, I fucking love. There's one aspect of this movie that like is something that's never occurred to me until this watch, was that the movie is also a series of everyone else realizing he's the one. Until he realizes he's the one. Like there are multiple moments where you feel the gravity of a moment because someone goes, he's the one. And it's almost every time a different person. There's a time when it's Morpheus, there's a time when it's Tank, there's a time when it's Trinity, and then it's Neo. And it's like oh, that's really cool, because the time that Tank realizes he's the one is whenever he gets Trinity out of the helicopter and it crashes into the building, and he's like, oh shit, he is the one. Like that's nobody should have ever been able to do that. And you know, Neo's still not all the way there. It's not until Neo's all the way there that you're like, okay, yeah, he is the one. That's true.
My favorite realization is the agent realizing that he's the one. When he jumps inside Agent Smith, blows him up, and then the other two are just like, no,
all right,
nope. They run from him. You know that everyone runs from agents, but they ran from him.
You see an agent, you run. Not with Neo, man.
Yeah, that in the subway, you know, whenever Agent Smith comes from that homeless guy, and then it's just so like he goes through this whole fight scene, he almost dies from it. You know, he's bleeding out of his mouth, bleeding in real life, and then you know the subway comes and he just Agent Smith pops in a new body, and he's like, oh, I just defeated one of you, and you can just pop up whenever, and he's like, now I run. You know, he's like, okay, I defeated you. I get the idea. I'm gonna go now. Yeah. But man, the end, whenever, you know, Agent Smith is like he's come back to life and he's fighting him, and he just puts one arm behind his back even, you know, he's like,
it's just like, oh my God, this man's the best.
I can't,
like, and he's not even thinking about it. It's just happening. Like, cause that, him putting his arm behind his back is him being like, I really don't think I need to even do anything. I think it just kind of happens. Like, and Well, like Morpheus even says it, like I'm not teaching you to dodge bullets. I'm teaching you so that one day you won't have to. Like you don't have to dodge bullets. You can just stop them. That's pretty fucking incredible. You
thinking back on the dojo, when they're in the dojo, and
that's one of my favorite scenes. Just from a visuals and filmmaking standpoint, that is strong as fuck.
That you think that's air that you're breathing right now, and then you see him like, he's like,
all right,
cool. Okay, like
you think my muscles or my my speed or anything has anything to do with what my muscles do in here? You think that's air you're breathing right now? Like that's such a, like, you've got to, like, he's like, you just got to realize, man, this isn't real. Like, you can bend it however you want. There is no spoon.
And outside on the Nebuchadnezzar, I forgot who opens the door, whether it was Tank. I think it was either Tank or Mouse. Is like, Neo's fighting Morpheus fighting Neo, and then they all like,
yes,
whoa! They're all like,
yeah, let's go see it. That shit was incredible, man. And I love the way that, like, and there's another example of them, like, really early on in the movie when all of them are like, is he the one? And like, like, nobody's ever made their first jump, but yeah, but like, what if he does? Like, what if he does do that? Like, what then? And it's just really, really cool to see everyone slowly come to the realization that he is the one. And if they, sadly, if they don't come to the realization, they probably died throughout the movie, such as Mouse, such as Tank's older brother. Yeah.
Switch. Yeah, they just got pulled. That was sad. Whenever. Well, I guess haven't mentioned.
We haven't talked about Cypher. Good old Ralphie Cifaretto. She was a poor Johnny. That's what I think of every time that I see this man. Just a villain, apparently. Just a villain. He's got that face.
The thing about his character is, though, you can kind of see where he's coming from. It's not like mindless. He's just evil to be evil.
No, yeah.
He explains it while he's at the dinner with Agent Smith. He's like, I know the steak isn't real. I know that when I put it in my mouth, it's just the Matrix telling me it's juicy and tasty. But he's like, ignorance is bliss. He's like, I don't care. Like, I just want to be someone famous and have money, and I don't want to remember a thing, and it's like,
hey, and like, my thing is that I'm cool living like that until it is presented to me that it's not real. At that point, I don't think I could ever go back and be like, yeah. And, obviously he asks to not remember anything.
How do you know if the agents are going to fulfill their promise in the first place? They could just plop you back in and do anything they want. Yeah, it's like, I guess they can do anything they want. Like, truly, they could do that if they wanted to, make him famous, make him rich, whatever. But he's not going to know. He's going to forget everything in the first place. So like, it's kind of a blank prom. I don't think Agent Smith, he's just like, we'll give you anything you want. He doesn't care. He just wants more. He just wants to get out himself, and whenever it's him and Morpheus and he takes out the earpiece and he's like, leave me with him. And he's like, I'm going to be honest with you. I hate this place. I want to get out. The only way I get out is if through the destruction of Zion. And, I don't know, just builds, his character, moving forward after, he's very independent moving forward.
It frames him as this dude who feels like he's trapped in the Matrix too. Like, it's not just those that are actual slaves to the system. Those that aid the system themselves are trapped. Like, you don't realize this is bad either. Like you like there has to be this cognitive dissonance within agents of the state that's like, what are we doing this for? And I feel like that's kind of what comes through in Agent Smith. He's like, this place fucking sucks. Why do we do this? Why do
smell? It's like, I can't get past the smell. And he, rubs Morpheus's head, all the sweat and stuff off.
And like, he's just so not human. It's so cool to watch the agents interact because they're so not real. Like they feel like the way he touches, like that's exactly it. That interaction, like he doesn't know how to feel. So when he's speaking like that, it's nothing but anger and it's nothing but hate. And it's like, because it's calculated. It's cold and calculated, and that's all.
Talk about them going to get Morpheus, going back in after they almost pulled the plug, which was, I don't know if Emily was like, is this at, like they actually going to pull the plug on him, because they make it seem like, they're like, you were more than a leader, you were a father to us. And like they were really
they
there.
were right there. And Neo had to be like, wait, no, the Oracle told me this would happen. We haven't really even spoke on the Oracle yet. That's a strong scene. And I love the way Morpheus spit it at him. Like, she told you exactly what you needed to hear. This isn't what the Oracle told me. It's like, she told you what she needed to tell you, bro.
Yeah.
Trust.
If she would have told him, hey, you're the one, go ahead and go, like, he wouldn't know
what to do with that.
Yeah. He's like, okay, like, I know that now, but I still don't know how to manipulate and change anything, So it's like, what would that really have done for him? I think back to whenever I was first watching him, like, after I heard that for the first time, I'm like, wait, what? I was thinking like, okay, maybe it's Trinity now. I'm like, maybe it's Morphe, or I'm like, I really thought like, oh, he's not the one, or whatever. But it's just so much more satisfying to have it the way it played out. And like, it's a learning experience. Like, that's what this whole first movie is just his learning experience through the whole thing, truly learning the nature of the Matrix and what he's supposed to do, who he's supposed to be, and the Oracle. Yeah, that's all the what do they call them? The kids that were in there, they call, I don't know, it was like a specific word. The future, these are the potentials, or I don't know, something like that. Like these are,
I see. Okay.
And you have the one kid that bends the spoon, and tells him like, you just got to realize, that you're not bending the spoon. The spoon's just not there, it's, or whatever. And, coming up later, whenever they're saving Morpheus and they're at the top of the elevator and they're about to, shoot up, let the bomb drop, he says, there is no spoon. Shoots the line and they shoot up, and
legendary shit.
And the spoon comes back, in future movies too. He gets gifted a spoon by, I forget who, or something like that. So the spoon, comes back, and I never caught that line on the top of the elevator before. And I don't know,
there is no spoon. I love Keanu Reeves, man, because
how he whisper yells. Like,
yes. I'm thinking I'm back. I always go to John Wick whenever I think of his yell, that scene where he's sitting in the chair and he's, I'm thinking I'm back. It's just like, he's just got such an electric presence on screen, and I've always been I love me some Keanu Reeves, man. I really, really do. But it's not necessarily because he's the greatest actor I've ever seen, because he's not, like he plays the characters he plays well. And I think he had to be cast in the specific roles he's cast in, he's got this kind of, it's not an intensity. It's really like this dissonance where he seems humble. Like he seems like he's not going to think too much of himself. And then finally when he's like, you know what? I am the shit. It's badass. It's like,
yeah, he always is kind of humble at first. And then when he breaks, or he's just finally,
he's like, you know what? Fuck it, man. I don't care. I
am that dude. I am Keanu Reeves, and man, I can't, is this like, I can't think of any roles that he has necessarily like before. Was this his first big break, or was he?
No,
I don't.
He was in Point Break before this. He was in Speed before this. He was a big '90s movie star, and The Matrix was kind of a culmination of that. And it was like his last thing for a while that really, really hit. But yeah, he was pretty big in the '90s. He was also in a movie with River Phoenix. Him and River Phoenix were like best friends back in the day. Joaquin Phoenix's brother. who died at a tragically young age. But yeah, I think the first thing that I saw with him in it was Point Break. I think that was the one that I became most familiar with him. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in '89. That's pretty legendary. Yeah, he'd been around. He'd been around the block. And what's funny is like he's part of the cell for this movie. Like you're going to see The Matrix, it's got Keanu Reeves in it. Like that's a huge action movie star. You better go catch that. Which is really cool.
Won 4 Oscars. This movie did pretty well. Let's see if we have a Kansas City Film Critics Circle Award for this or not. Dang it, we don't. What were we doing in 2000 or 1999? But
what were we thinking?
Bullet Time.
Bullet Time, man.
Never seen anyone move that fast. How did you do that? And you just saw him moving slow, the whole time. But then Trinity's like, you moved like them.
Yeah.
So that's like what agents are doing whenever they're doing all the like that's, I don't know, just a cool like realization to have. And he's very humble in that. And he's like, well, not fast enough, because he got nicked twice, by 2 bullets or whatever.
Yeah. Oh shit! I'm sorry. I'm looking back. He was in The Devil's Advocate before The Matrix. Keanu Reeves was, and that's a movie he was in with Al Pacino. I thought that was in early 2000s. I didn't realize that was a late 90s. So yeah, he had a few big roles before The Matrix, which is pretty cool to see. This wasn't necessarily what made him, but it's almost certainly what solidified him as a legend.
I love that whenever he gets loaded up into the like the loading program for the first time, and Morpheus is like, notice how your ports are gone for your body and your clothes are different, and he's like, this is what we call our self-residual image or something like that. It's like how you view yourself at the time,
your mental projection of your digital self.
And Trinity, she knows she's badass because she sees herself as badass, right. I love that. And Neo's clothes slowly change over time, and you see him like become more and more the one at like, as he goes on, but Morpheus is always in his suit,
oh man, tie, dude. Or whatever. And I'll tell you, as far as costume design is concerned, this is up there, man, as far as what we've covered in these 3 decades. Whenever, Morpheus's purple suit jacket with the green tie and like the stuff they wear in the dystopian future, like that's some still pretty epic costume design. But yeah, that suit, that purple suit, black shirt, green tie, fucking awesome. And then when Neo steps out of that phone booth at the end of the movie and he's rocking the full fucking coat and the sunglasses, and you're just like, yeah, he knows he's the shit.
Like, I know that he could fly, but I love that he just looks up and it cuts to him, or like it cuts to the camera up super high and you just see him flying, and that would have been like, whoa, like, shit. He can really do anything he wants, but man, yeah, I like, after watching this, like, again, and truly like kind of thinking of the movie, and it's like not really watching it.
It's not just a cool idea, like that's what I've kind of went with in my head, like it's a great idea. Like the whole story, the story is a really fascinating one. This is a fantastically well-made movie. The shots are beautiful. It's very well acted. I'm hard pressed to think of a better starting point for a trilogy. Like this is a very good way to set up a trilogy of movies.
Usually, like when we're talking of superhero movies and stuff like that the first movie, the setup, it's good in its own vein, but the second movie, you have the whole world already set up for you. There's no explanation really needed. You're jumping in and you can get going right away.
Right.
But this movie, I don't know. I don't really feel that. I don't feel that like, now I need to watch the second movie. I'm like, I could just watch this one movie and be completely fine. Like, there's nothing more that I need. And
it's legend building, man. Like they're like, yeah, we showed you the creation of someone who becomes a legend. Like, and that's what the movie is.
The glasses, they're
legendary.
Morpheus is, like if anyone wears glasses without, I don't know what to call the things that go over your ears. Just whatever, Morpheus is
just
glasses.
The lenses.
Everyone, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like like you're channeling your inner Morpheus if you're wearing them. Like people
absolutely.
know, or like the mate, like Neo's that he puts on at the end, the flare, like this movie has a very iconic look to it. And
man, Emily looked at me about like towards the end of this movie whenever they're in that hall fighting the SWAT. It's Trinity and Neo, like in the gunfight where he's doing the cartwheels and shit. And a pretty legendary action sequence right there. More like I'm watching this, and I'm an MCU fan, so I'm always going like. And I've tried to become more critical of the Marvel movies because like I do see them as wonderfully fun, and I really enjoy them. But like naturally over the course of time, as we keep going through our 52-year journey through film, and we watch all these truly amazing movies, I come to more and more realize how like they're fun, and there's sometimes little more than that. But even when it came to these action sequences, man, I was like, this is pretty epic compared to anything I've ever seen. Like,
and it's not just blindless action, just to have it in the movie. Like this, like it was like no one has done this before. You are like, it's a suicide mission. Like this needed, like this had to happen. Like so it wasn't just action for action. Like they needed to save Morpheus, and this is how they had to do it. Like
right.
And man, like just the running off the wall. Yeah, Neo doing a cartwheel, catching the gun, on the ground, and then shooting at his like.
And I'm usually not a fan of slow-mo action, but you need it in this movie. Like there's and it's part of what lends itself to being fucking awesome. Like during this gunfight, I'm usually bored during a gunfight in a movie. Like that's usually the time where I can go look at my phone, scroll for a little bit, and just kind of be like, all right, there's a gunfight going on. I'll wait till people are speaking again. This, you have to watch the gunfight. Like, it is so beautifully shot. So, like, it is brilliant. And if you click back several, you were scrolling through these pictures. Sorry, there's a picture of Agent Smith with his glasses
broken a little bit.
Glasses broke, and it's perfectly around his eye. Like, and I noticed it immediately, and like that's just such a carefully set up shot and carefully crafted prop that like you perfectly see his eye. You see the whole thing. Like it was such a small thing that I saw for half a second, but in a lesser movie, it covers half his eye. It covers a little bit of his eye. It doesn't cover any of his eye. You see his entire eye. Like that was purposeful, like that's meticulous. And I love shit like that.
Yeah. The use of glasses, and like every character kind of had their own pair of glasses, and it's just part of their self-image, I guess. Maybe everyone, when they see themselves as cool, they just always imagine themselves with glasses on, I love that. But man, like the use of reflections in glasses and like they really used everything to their advantage in this movie. Like there's not one thing that I'm left like, oh, I wish they did this better, or like, oh, I wish they would have gone about this way. Like, I don't know. It's truly their own, like, they did everything that they wanted to do, I feel, with this movie.
It's fucking awesome, and I thought there was no better example of it being awesome than when I was watching that gunfight. Emily looks at me and goes, "We should be them for Halloween." Neo and Trinity. And I was like, you know what? That was so 1999 of you, babe. Like, because everyone was Neo and Trinity for Halloween in 1999 because it's such an iconic costume. Like, that shit looks fire. It's fucking amazing, dude. And it's just and I love the robots having like bug-like features that they're like, that's the most efficient creature. You know, they're the quickest. They have the most limbs, therefore they can get around the easiest. Like that sort of thing. Like it's like it's fucking awesome. And that shot where they're flying at each other, firing the bullets right past each other's heads. That's pretty much the most iconic shot from this movie, I'd say.
I don't know if you've like dove into like the VFX and stuff of the Matrix, but like bullet time, like they legitimately just have like 50 cameras in a circle all filming at the same time. And every time that, you know, whenever he's, you know, actually dodging them for the first time, whenever the camera pans around, it's like, it's not a CG camera moving around. It's legitimate. Just there's that many cameras there.
Well,
like,
and that's the thing. I was watching it and I was like, it can't be CG because I've seen stuff like this be CG where they go slow motion and you see the body, like you see them turn around the body and it's like, okay, well the body looks fake as fuck right here. Wait till they get to the other side and it'll look real again. It looks like the actors the whole time, which is why I was like, I don't know, like this might be either the most incredible CGI I've ever seen or just the most incredible VFX I've ever seen. And frankly,
like obviously there's a lot of VFX and CG in the movie, you know, there has to be, but like the parts that they could, you know, have real, they really wanted to do that. And I think, I don't know, there's this movie, like it was kind of a jump off point for a lot of other people in Hollywood to be like, we're there, you know, like we can make some cool shit now. You know, there's like, even though this world is so crazy and out there, like there's not really many things that stand out as fake. You know, the bullet trails, I'd say, would be kind of one of the only things that are kind of fall back a little bit. Could be a little better, but I mean, everything else like is just looks pretty photoreal.
It's pretty
to me, at least. I'm not taken out by any effects during the movie, and but man, I guess maybe like the EMP whenever it went off. I guess how do we know what an EMP looks like, anyways? Whenever it goes off, so I guess what am I really talking about?
But that was still a dope scene, you know, like and I loved the intensity of that being like you got to get Neo out before you can do that, otherwise Neo dies. So we're gonna have to get him out of there as soon as possible. It gets all the way to the point where the Sentinel is like literally in their face, about to kill them. That's ramping up some intensity. And
whenever the helicopter, like whenever Neo saves Trinity out of the helicopter, and it's Tank realizing, oh, he's the one. The helicopter goes into the building, and you see it kind of ripple. It doesn't necessarily break the building right away. It ripples it first, and then like the shockwave hits, and then all the glass is kadoosh, and like you just see Trinity, you know, fly through. Like what a badass like explosion job behind her and everything. But man, like I don't know, they fucked with this movie. They knew what they were doing.
Wachowski sisters just fucking bodied it, man. They killed this shit. The shots of Morpheus like flying through the air when he's doing kung fu and shit, like that's just that's some of the coolest shit I've ever seen, man. And what's crazy is action in this movie is incredible, but I don't think it touches the action in Reloaded. Like the action in Matrix Reloaded is, I'd say this one's more about the story, and Reloaded is more about, check out what we can do.
You have Neo fighting
all the agents,
freaking hundreds of agents at one time. You know, he's on a pole just running around kicking them in the heads and like throwing them like literally like there's a bowling strike sound effect in Reloaded, which is hilarious. Like he throws an agent and like it looks like he's using him as bowling, and you hear pins crash, which is just hilarious. But man, they I don't know, with what they had here, you know, I guess it's not him being the one throughout the whole movie, you know, and for what they could accomplish, I think they did it very, very well.
Yeah, you know, I think that's probably what lends itself to being the best of the trilogy, is the rise to the legendary status. You know, it's nice to see our hero not completely infallible.
Hmm.
Like you feel the danger Neo's in a lot of this movie. You feel the danger everyone else is in a lot of this movie. And then there's a certain security in the next couple movies with Neo being for sure the one.
Mm.
It's more about Zion being threatened in the next couple movies, which is also very compelling. But there's something about the personal intimacy of this movie being as small and intimate as it is. It's even though it's massive, it's such a grand idea on such a small scale, just given where it goes.
This whenever they what were they doing in the first place? Oh yeah, they were meeting the Oracle, and they're going back to come back out. But Cypher, he let them know where they are, so agents lock down the building.
I have a deja vu.
Yeah, the Black Cat deja vu moment. But like, deja vu is usually not within the span of 2 seconds, back to back, or whatever. Like usually when it's deja vu, it's like, I've seen this somewhere before, but it's like a long time ago, or whatever. But it's just kind of funny that his deja vu was literally back to back, in that whatever. But I love that, he thinks of it as nothing, and they're all just like, fuck, like we gotta go. Like, how similar was that cat? And they're like, oh, okay, run. We gotta go.
It's like, I swear I've seen that cat. I swear I just saw that cat. I'm having deja vu right now. They all pause and they're all like, what? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just saw that cat. And she explains, deja vu is usually the
glitch in the Matrix.
Glitch in the Matrix. And it's like, and that was a nice little fourth wall break. That's like, every time you have deja vu, you're going to think about that, huh?
Mm-hmm. Oh man. And if that's what's happening, if I'm in a farm, being turned into a battery right now, until I know, I'll be cool with it. I'm gonna keep living on here.
Well, it's just like, for me, I don't know what I could do to find it out. Like, it has to be presented to me, or else like I'm gonna be like, I'm chilling. I don't know how to go out of my way to figure that out.
Yeah, until our Morpheus comes around.
Until while I'm doing the podcast, I get a little text message that says the Matrix has you. I'll be cool.
It's kind of a creepy moment. While watching this movie, I was curious to know like where I was at in the movie, like how much was left. And on HBO, it had like there's the time where it shows where you are in the movie and then how much is left, and it like they slowly like they count down like every second.
Slowly, and if you get right in the middle, it's the same.
The second that I checked it, I passed the moment at which the times were the same, which was just like just not like I was not thinking. I'm like, this feels about the halfway point in the movie, but I wanted to know. I'm like, is this really halfway? And we have so much more to go. And I just hit the button, and it's like, I'm like, yo, like for the, any other movie, I don't care. I don't think about it as much, but like, come on, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I had, I was like, I paused it at one point and it was at like, the first number wasn't shit, but I had exactly an hour and 7 minutes left. And I think about it anytime I pause it right on like a certain like amount of time left. I'm like, whoa, cool. But I'm watching it during this movie and I'm like, whoa.
That has to mean something
cool.
now. Yeah. Like, I am Neo. I am the one.
No, that's awesome, man. Frankly, I don't have much else to say on it. I could, I could go on and on.
Maybe in the future we get the whole trilogy in here, so
I think we might just
we can fully talk. But as for this, first one.
What's pretty incredible about Reloaded and Revolutions is that they filmed them back to back and both were released in 2003, which is like,
that's incredible. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah.
That's like getting, I don't know. Like, can you imagine like Star Wars comes out and then it's the success that it is. And they're like, all right, here's the next two in the same year for you. Like, God, that like, man, they knew how to build the hype with they
they knew how to maintain it.
Yeah, they struck gold and they're like, all right, let's go.
Yep. we ride.
I-
But as far as this specific film is concerned, let's get the ratings and reviews section going. Let's start with enjoyment. You know, on a scale of 5 stars, how are we enjoying this thing? And it's going to be it's going to be 3 good weeks in a row with 5.0s. This is as enjoyable an action movie as I've ever seen, as enjoyable a sci-fi like as compared to the sci-fi movies we've had so far. You know, going back to like Aliens and Blade Runner and freaking
Terminator.
The Terminator. This is way better than those. And I'm not even, I don't have any questions about that. I feel very, very high on this movie as compared to the sci-fi movies we've had along the way. And they're like, and I enjoy this movie thoroughly. It's got Keanu in it. It's got Lawrence Fishburne. How am I not going to go 5 out of 5 on the enjoyment there?
That's true. Yeah, this is a movie that's pretty infinitely rewatchable. Maybe not necessarily a comfort movie, but a movie that I go back to all the time. And glad that I was, had to revisit it for the pod. I'm glad to revisit this movie at any time. And yeah, I'm nowhere else other than a 5 for enjoyment. It's up my alley. It's asking questions about AI and reality and stuff. Like, come on, what more could I ask for?
What more could you be looking for?
And you leave the movie with some questions still, but you still are at a place where it's satisfying enough that it's like, okay, like, yeah, that was just fantastic. I don't know. I almost watched it just again. Like, if it wasn't that late in the night, I think I might have just watched it like a second time, legitimately back to back. But yeah, I'm nowhere other than a 5 for enjoyment here.
All right. Now let's go to the genre. And man, this is gonna be a pretty high rating movie, if I'm not mistaken. As far as a sci-fi action film is concerned, would you call this genre defining?
I mean, I'd say if you need a sci-fi and action movie as required viewing,
it's The Matrix, man.
I mean, I don't know. We gave Terminator a 5 for genre as well. We gave Aliens a 5.
Then that makes The Matrix an automatic 5.
It has. Maybe. I mean, it has to be.
I had no questions about it. I thought it was a 5, but that just reassures me that this is a guaranteed 5 out of 5 in 2 categories, which I don't believe we've had since Malcolm X, which is
Shawshank.
Oh, Shawshank, man, yeah.
It's Shawshank, But yeah, Shawshank, and then back to Malcolm X, and before Malcolm X, it goes all the way up to Star Wars.
It goes to Raiders.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Raiders.
So only a couple Raiders 5 out of 5s and multiple. It's Star Wars, Raiders, Shawshank, and The Matrix. That's an interesting list right there.
Wow. Yeah, that's. It's in some good company. And then back to The Godfather.
I'm feeling higher on this movie right now than I ever have, so it makes perfect sense.
Technically Lion King as well.
Yes, Lion King. There you go.
I want to throw that one in there.
Children's animation. That's pretty genre defining.
So it's in the company with The Godfather, Star Wars, Raiders, Malcolm X, Shawshank, and Lion King. What a group of movies to say at the same time.
That's a fun viewing. That's a fun viewing party there. But bringing it to as a film, how are we feeling about The Matrix? If I'm being honest, it's in that 4.85 level.
And this is very meticulous.
Splitting the difference between 8.5 and 9?
I feel like the only movie that I feel could compare is Jurassic Park. Out of these 8.5s, they're all very, they're all in 8.5 for a reason here. but I feel like it's not quite, The Godfather. It's not quite Shawshank.
It's not
Whatever.
quite
That's like the strength of the film, but it's there. Like it's not far, and I do feel like it almost does edge out these three though.
My thing
in a
is,
way,
I cannot comfortably say it's above Jurassic Park.
That's fair. Yeah, that's true.
I think it's got to be on par with. Like I'd say, I feel very good about that, but I could not comfortably tell you one is better than the other critically. Which might make this our new champ, or close to it anyway. If we give it a 4.85.
It's a 4.95.
A 4.95 out of 5 stars for The Matrix, man. Wow. What a fucking crazy shakeup, bringing us a new top 5 movie.
Oh, yeah. Wow. So our top 5, stays the same. I was going to say we have, a good top 13 or so in our top 5. But, man, I don't know, that seems right. It's up there with these movies, I'd say, on average, for the average scores, it's only below Godfather, Raiders, and Shawshank and Star Wars. But above Goodfellas, Forrest Gump, Jaws, My Neighbor Totoro, Dead Poets. I feel like it slots in very well there. And yeah, I think, and maybe if we want to get meticulous about these film order, we can just order them in
within their ratings.
And I feel like Jurassic Park and The Matrix are honestly tied here.
Top 2.
Can't really put one above the other there. And Goodfellas and Trainspotting feel like they're kind of tied for like the second place of the 4.85s.
Right.
So, but I feel, I'm comfortable where this is. And what a man.
Yeah, that gives us our 4th 4.85 on the film scale. We had Jurassic Park, Goodfellas, and Trainspotting at 4.85 out of 5 in that category prior. Now we include The Matrix, and The Matrix becomes our sole 4.95 out of 5, putting it below only The Shawshank Redemption, Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Godfather, and Star Wars. And man, that's some pretty high praise that we've got going for The Matrix at the moment.
I mean, I'm trying to be like, is it recency bias? But like, no, I've seen this movie so many times, that it really can't be like, even though I am coming off of a viewing, but like, no, like I feel like this is where it belongs. Yeah, I mean, just a little bit below Shawshank, just a little below The Godfather. Like, this movie it's truly revolutionary for the genre. I feel like giving it a 5 out of 5 for the genre is only fitting. Obviously enjoyment's a 5, and I think for the film I can't really go any higher or lower. So
I think it's a better movie as far as filmmaking, story writing, visual effects, everything than The Truman Show and Good Will Hunting, as we had them at 4.8.
July is going to be the strongest month, I think. The only one that could rival it is May. At an average of 4.86. May was pretty high. Trainspotting would be the one to bring it down at a 4.7, but we have 4.85, 4.85, and 4.95 already. One more to go.
Gladiator is next week to top off July. Well, that'll bring us into the new millennia.
Okay, so Gladiator has to kind of pop off in order to beat May, but May only has 4 movies and July has 5. So kind of, we'll just, I guess we'll see how it goes. We'll get there. But man, yeah, I'm feeling right where The Matrix is.
Yeah, I feel very good about it. And with that, we conclude the 90s. And thus, you know what that means. We've done it for the 70s. We've done it for the 80s. Monday will bring you Penny Bloom's 1990s Film Awards. Yes, it'll be very, very fun. We'll have all our typical categories, best actor, actress, director, writer, so on and so forth, along with all our fun ones. Best at being the best, most likely to succeed, or most likely to end up dead or in jail. Shit like that. It gets to be a lot of fun, so I hope you'll check that out. And I can't imagine The Matrix doesn't win a few of those. So it'll be very, very good. If you would, head to patreon.com/CoroBloom, where you'll find over 24 hours of exclusive content. All that money goes back into making sure I can put this podcast on. If you would, head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. I was Colton Robertson, joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And you have to let it all go. Fear, doubt, and disbelief. Free your mind.
And praise Keanu Reeves.
As always.
Have to.